Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is week 16 of the Pigskin Prognosis podcast. I'm your co host, Zach. I'm here with Sully.
Yo, what's up, everybody?
And we have a pretty exciting show for you again today. So stick around. We appreciate your continued support in listening to the podcast. And if you are here for fantasy football, you're in the right place. If you're here for bets, you're in the wrong place because I suck at betting. So stick around and we'll tell you more about that later. All right. I always start the podcast with all right. I tried to break it too. I purposely didn't say all right at the first, like starting the podcast, and then I said all right there. So it's like a comfort word for me.
Yeah, you've been in the beginning.
But this is week 16 podcast. We have some exciting information here this week. As always, we have our highest scores, lowest scores, some bets and recaps for you before moving into the next week. If you are in a playoff league, which it doesn't make any sense how I said that, but it's the beginning of playoffs in most of the leagues. If not, your playoffs might already be into the second week. So now's your opportunity to keep getting some points and squeaking out some wins and moving towards a championship in your fantasy football league. So pay attention as we have some decent news for you on some potential pickups, as well as some betting info that might make you some money on the side.
Well, if you're following Zach's, it's probably not, but that's not the point. We'll go ahead and get into it, I guess. All right, high scores. Jesus. There honestly was a shit ton of high scores this week.
It really was, yeah.
Again, we'll lead off. There's two Monday night games tonight that are currently going on. Raiders, Falcons, and Bears and the Vikings. So again, like usual, these don't actually incorporate those scores, which I guess last week was really the only week that kind of like bit us in the ass. But nonetheless, getting into it, Devontae Adams, and I'm kind of surprised by that as well. 42.8 points, 9 receptions, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns, and those are off 12 targets. I think fantasy managers are feeling a little bit better now about Devontae Adams and Rodgers finally getting it back to fucking together and scoring some fucking points.
Yeah. It's good to see that they put up 35 points, but again, who did they put up 35 points against, you know? But I mean, if you look at his stats, it's something that all fantasy owners can be happy about, whether you're in a PPR league or not, because he put up 198 receiving yards, not to include the 2 touchdowns as well, which is an additional 12 points, but just the yardage alone is 19.8 points in your standard ESPN league. So, I think anybody who has him, PPR or not, is definitely happy this week with his performance.
Yep, 100%. See if he keeps it up.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not too hopeful. I think this year's kind of a wash for him and Rodgers. I think, this may even be Rodgers' last year, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Our next highest scorer, surprise, surprise, is potential MVP candidate Josh Allen, who does it again with 23 completions on 34 attempts for 362 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 11 rushes for 68 yards on the ground, and 2 rushing touchdowns. So I think he kind of solidifies himself again as an MVP candidate. His numbers strike me as better performance than they do for like Patrick Mahomes or even Lamar Jackson. So those other 2 quarterbacks that you usually consider to be pushing that MVP race aren't really giving you the statistics that Allen is. They're not comparable, in my opinion, as they would be with normal years. So I don't really know what's going on this year with quarterbacks, but Josh Allen is just destroying everybody else. So if you have Josh Allen on your fantasy roster, you're definitely making out this year for sure.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, that ended him 41.28 points. I don't know if you actually gave the point total, but
I didn't.
Either way, still, I agree with that MVP race. I feel like he kind of solidified it, especially after Saquon Barkley did jack shit
Yeah, I forgot about
this
him
week.
too. Yeah, he's doing
So
much.
I know he was what everybody was saying was pretty much the number 2, and the Eagles didn't do shit against Pittsburgh. Granted, I know Pittsburgh's got a good defense, but you can't sit there and say you're MVP and then only, I think he ran for 32, 35 yards, something like that. So you can't sit there and go through and be like, oh, he's MVP candidate. And when you have that, meanwhile, you have Josh Allen playing pretty much everybody, and he's putting up just ridiculous yardage and rushing numbers. So,
Yeah.
But going to the next one, our third highest scorer, which was the quarterback of the team that Josh Allen played, Jared Goff for the Lions, 41.606 points. I'm sorry, 38 for 59, 494 yards, 5 touchdowns, carried the ball twice for 13 yards. I mean, when you're down a good amount in the beginning of the game, you're definitely going to be slinging the ball. And what other person better than to be doing it than Jared Goff to Amon-Ra and even Sam Laporta?
That was a good game. It was definitely a shootout.
Fucking fantastic game.
It
I'm
was
sad the
definitely
Lions
amazing.
lost, but
I am too, but man, 48-42. That's something that you were expecting, a high-scoring offensive game anyways. So
Yep.
it was good to see and that is a potential Super Bowl matchup, they're saying. So
God, I hope so.
and even with the Lions losing, they're still considering the Lions to be Super Bowl favorites. So
Yep.
yeah, we'll see how that
We'll get into
plays
that
out.
in our recap a little bit here too. See your thoughts on all that.
Yeah, the number 4 highest score of the week is still one of the players from that game was Josh Allen's number 1 target, Amon-Ra St. Brown, with 37.3 points. He had 14 receptions, so those are big numbers if you're in a PPR league. Out of 18 targets, so he's getting a lot of work shot over to him, and he had 1 touchdown and 193 receiving yards. So if you're in a PPR league, phenomenal week for you just at 14 points alone for the catches. If you're not in a PPR league, you're still at 19.3 points for the yards and another 6 points, so 25.3 if you include the touchdown. An amazing night for him, and he even had a couple of crazy. He had two passes that I saw that he could have caught that were just, he tried. He definitely tried. It wasn't like these were bad throws. These were competitive throws, I guess I could call them. I don't really know the word I'm looking for, but they were tough defenses, and the ball was right there, something that he could have gotten his hand on, and just was unable to make a crazy play. But so another, probably another catch or two with another 30 or 40 yards would have netted him over the 200-yard mark for the night.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then the last one, Mike Evans, 36.9 points for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 9 receptions, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that was off 11 targets. I mean, at this point, it's hard to deny the fact that if he keeps going the way he's going, Mike Evans, he's going to have another 1,000-yard season, which I think is going to be like his 10th or 11th. I think it might be his 11th consecutive season of 1,000-yard receiving yards, and that's missing what 1, 2, 3 weeks of actual 3 weeks of game, and then the bye week. So
yeah,
I mean, I think they said he needed to average like 120 yards or something for the next couple games, and shit, he's well on his way to doing that. Also helps when Tampa scores 40 points over the Chargers too, so that definitely helps that statistic out.
Yeah, and that was even with Baker making some bad throws too. So
yeah, I mean, it's Mike Evans. He kind of strikes me as Megatron-esque in, hey,
yeah,
just get me the ball in my general direction, and I'm coming up with it. So
yeah, that was there was even a play too where he played defensive back and avoided an interception and then ended up scoring a touchdown in the next couple plays later. So he makes a play around the football for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, good to see him doing well. And I miss Baker, man. I keep talking about him all the time, every chance I get. But all right, so some decent high scoring games, and we got 2 games going on right now that, I mean, Minnesota's game looks like it's relatively high scoring. Well, I don't want to say high.
It's 10-0.
I don't want to say high scoring, but Sam Darnold's thrown a touchdown, so who knows?
There's been 1 touchdown in the game, so let's fucking slow roll over there, bud.
Yeah, and it's coming up on halftime, so
throwing the fucking ball. It's 10-0 at halftime, and Darnold's throwing 1 touchdown. Okay, well that's been the only touchdown.
Okay,
Zach's hyping it up like this is a fucking 48-42 Buffalo Lions game.
that's true. It's not quite that, but maybe. On the low scoring talk of things, let's get into our lowest scores of the week. Some surprisingly low scores. We got 3 names on here that honestly, single digits not looking good. But first one is Derrick Henry. For all you Derrick Henry fantasy owners out there, not a good week for you. 6.7 points, 14 carries for 67 yards. No receptions, no receiving yards, no touchdowns, which is what you have him for. Not looking good. I think Josh Allen has more rushing touchdowns than Derrick Henry. If I'm thinking about the statistic right, was it Josh Allen?
That might be right.
Either Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts. I don't remember which one it is. One of those quarterbacks. That has yeah. So, anyways, back to the Derrick Henry talk. Not a good week if you were hoping for a big number for him in playoffs. So hopefully you didn't have him playing for you, and if you did, then hopefully you had one of the highest scores to help you negate the loss that he didn't produce. So
yeah. It's definitely not 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All right, it's definitely not Josh Allen.
okay.
Derrick Henry has more. I just looked it up. But anyway, the next lowest score we have on here is the whole Cleveland Browns offense. That's not some. No, I kid, or do I?
No, you definitely don't.
But on a serious note, that's Travis Kelce, Kansas City Chiefs. This will be all we mentioned about the Kansas City Chiefs on this podcast today. 6.7 points, 4 receptions, 27 yards against the Browns. Shit. Just kind of like how we talked about with Derrick Henry. You know, fantasy playoffs, you expect these guys to show up and just shit the bed, especially Kansas City, because of the fact that, you know, they're still in contention for the number 1 seed with, you know, Buffalo. So they shouldn't be really benching anybody. I know that Mahomes got hurt in the 4th quarter, end of the 3rd, beginning of the 4th. And I know, you know, I don't even know who the hell Kansas City's backup is. It isn't Patrick Mahomes. But still, Mahomes and Kelce have that rapport, at least you would think. And it's just tough to swallow, especially if you have them in fantasy, especially with the, you know, playoffs either on the line or if you're already in and end up having them. But
it's Carson Wentz, by the way.
is it?
Yeah, Carson Wentz was the backup that came in and quarterbacked for the last
I
couple
didn't
of
even
minutes.
know that dude was still in the league.
I didn't either.
Good. I did not think that dude was still in the league. Holy shit.
Yeah.
We'll get Kev on the podcast again and have him talk about Carson Wentz.
Does he like him?
I'm not 100%. I mean, imagine. He led him to a Super Bowl, the Eagles. So
Yeah. Wonder how he feels about Nick Foles.
that's it. That's another one. So yeah, I'm okay with going back and talking about other shit.
Yeah.
We're going back for playoffs time. Hopefully, the Eagles get bumped out.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, sorry, Kev, if you're listening to the podcast.
In our last, we only had 3 surprisingly low scores because it was a good week for fantasy. Most of the fantasy, obviously, there's some bad guys that you're looking at, but
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill, 5.6 points, 2 receptions, 36 yards, and 7 targets from Tua. Sully wrote on here, fantasy managers had some hope coming into this game against the Texans, thinking he'd be able to put up numbers after coming off back-to-back 20-point games.
Maybe I should have read that off since I can actually read, apparently.
Yeah, I was about to say, it kind of sounded like it was written up by a kindergartner, but...
No, because you read it like that.
I don't know how to read.
Everybody. Fantasy managers had some hope coming into this game against the Texans, thinking that he'd actually be able to put up numbers after coming off back-to-back 20-plus point games. See, that's how it was supposed to have come off.
Oh, okay.
Instead of, you know, you fucked your way through it. I also like how you tried to blame me for, like, writing that shittily when you just said it shittily.
Well, whatever.
So, yeah, no, rough week for Tyreek Hill for sure, and the Dolphins. Granted, they did start to come back a little bit in that game, but still, And Waddle even went out. I think they're saying that he might be out for the season. So you would think
Ooh.
Tyreek Hill and Johnny Smith are going to be the top two guys. Granted, I don't know why Tyreek Hill isn't now, but
Well, he's got a lot of confidence in himself, which I don't mind because, you bet on yourself and you can win a lot of the time, but he's not doing well. Two receptions out of 7 targets is not that's not a good number,
No, shit, no, it's especially for the cheetah. Not a good look.
Exactly. Yeah, 36-yard. He's the one didn't he say he wants a 2,000-yard season?
He did. He said it last year. Granted, he got hurt. He was still pretty close, but yeah, no, he said he wanted it to come back and redeem himself this season and put up 2,000 yards and shit. I think I'll be surprised if he hits 1,000 with the way it's going.
Yeah.
Now on to my favorite section of the week, the ZSBOTW, and if you don't know what that stands for, we made it up last week. It's Zach's Shitty Bets of the Week.
Yeah, and if you listened last week and you took my advice, then you lost some money. Most of the bets that I picked did not hit, but they were close, womp womp is right. But
close doesn't get you winning money.
Close does not get you money unless you play the round robins. Then in that case, you can still lose a couple, but I did not play round robins last week. This week, I got 5 bets for y'all. The 5 bets, if you do a 5-bet parlay, the odds are plus 2320, so a $10 bet will win you $242. The bets are, I could pull up my DraftKings, there we go. Texas, -3 over Kansas City. With Patrick Mahomes potentially being out, I like the Texas matchup, especially because they've solidified themselves as the 4 seed. They are playing in Kansas City. However, the Houston Texans are playing phenomenal football right now. And like I said, KC, they've had their ups and downs. Right now they're in a down with Patrick Mahomes being out while they're still fighting for the number 1 seed. However, if Patrick Mahomes does come back, I don't know if that's going to be the favorite. So, yeah, right now, Houston, Texas. Oh, just kidding. They changed it. I made the bet this morning, and now it's -2.5. So you're going to lose a little bit on that one if you decide to go with that route. But
3 points still get you the win, though.
Yeah, it should still. 3 points will still get the win over Kansas City. The next bet, I promised myself I wouldn't pick this team again because they fucked me the last 2 weeks. But I'm going to pick them again this week just because I like the matchup, is the Panthers. They are 4-point underdogs against the Cardinals. So I'm going to pick the Panthers at +4 to lose or potentially even win the game outright over the Cardinals and get me some money there. I like this because the Cardinals haven't been playing really solid football lately. They start off really hot and they just cannot finish, or they don't start off hot at all and they just don't score enough points towards the end of the game to make a good comeback. So with the Panthers playing decent at best, I'll say, I think I like that matchup a little bit better. And Sully, tell me if I'm wrong being a Panthers fan. I think that's a matchup y'all can consider winning at least.
Oh, well, I mean, shit, we were favorites over the Cowboys last week and fucking looked like we'd never played football before, so.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm like, pump the brakes on this one, but it's only +4, so.
I wish they should be able to cover that. I mean, we're better than New England, and New England, lost by 13, so. Yeah. I think they have a chance. If we play like we did, now 2 weeks ago against Eagles and even Tampa and Kansas City, we'll be able to hold them, but did suffer some injuries and stuff, and we'll see how it pans out for us this week. But I think they can cover 4.
I think they can too. It's gonna be a close game, and hopefully they just come out outright win it. But still, +4 Panthers over the Cardinals. The bet for that is -112 if you pick the spread. So the next bet I got here is Philadelphia, the Eagles over the Commanders. Right now, the Philadelphia Eagles are 3-point favorites at -115. Philly has been playing smart football. If you watched the Steelers game, they didn't score much in the second half at all, but they controlled the ball, and they could have scored if they wanted to. They controlled the ball for 24 minutes in the second half, and they scored twice. They scored a touchdown, and I think they kicked a field goal. So,
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, they knew what they were doing. They were purposefully running that clock down. Had they been down, they would have scored no problem. But since they were up and had the possession, they just burned the clock. And then, of course, obviously some Steeler mistakes gave them the ball back. But, I mean, they did phenomenal. And I expect them to play very smart against the Commanders, who are just going to try to come out slinging. I think Jaden Daniels is just, at this point in his season, has some things to prove in his game. And now it's a division rival, too. So, I think that they kind of consider that moving forward, because if you have a chance to mess up somebody's playoff run, like if Washington were to take over and destroy Philly, that's an opportunity for the Commanders to jump back into the playoff contention. Maybe not for the division with only a couple weeks left in the season. They're 3 wins behind, but it could mess up Philly's potential to be one of the top seeds in the playoff run. So, looking forward for that. Good interdivisional rivalry game. Philly and Washington always have really good games, football and baseball and hockey related too. So, yeah. So -3 Philly bet is -115 on that one. The next pick that I have is the Lions, which, if you watched them play the Bills, they were throwing the ball. Jared Goff had 5 touchdowns, which we just talked about. And they're going to play Chicago next. I don't know. I kind of feel bad for Chicago. I think they should just, like, like in high school where they have, like, if you're up by so much, they have like a continuous clock just to get the parents home early. You know what I mean? I think we should do that. Yeah, I think we should do that for Chicago next week, because I think it's going to be just an outright domination of Chicago. The game, the picks has the Lions at 6.5-point favorites. I think they're going to double that and be a two, maybe even a 3 touchdown win for the Lions. So -6.5 at -112. That's a good bet for me, in my opinion. I'll take that one over Chicago any day of the week. And then my last out of my 5 picks this week is I gotta root against Dallas again and hope that Tampa Bay wins. 1, because I don't like Dallas, but 2, because I like Baker Mayfield and he's doing really well. They're 4-point favorites over the Cowboys, so 4.5 points or 5 points if they win will win you the bet of -110. So with all those picks, you got Texas over KC -3, Panthers +4 over Cardinals, Philadelphia -3 over Washington, Tampa Bay -4 over Dallas, and Lions -6.5 over Chicago. All 5 of those bets is a +2320, which gets you $242 if you bet 10. So we'll see if I walk away with some extra money after the end of this week. Who knows? Probably not, but you never know. Leave it up to chance.
Hope so. Hope so.
But we'll see. I don't know. I've made a couple. I've won a couple bets this year, but I'm feeling pretty good about this week because I didn't pick the Browns. I stayed away from the Browns games. I was like, no, thank you. I don't want anything to do with it. I think they're playing Cincinnati this week.
Oh God.
Yeah. Oh, did you see Joe Burrow? Did you see Joe Burrow saying he was embarrassed?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he said, so there was a lip read video that came out on the sidelines of him talking to his coach. He says, I'm fucking embarrassed. He either said we should have won by 80 or we're still going to be 6-8. Whatever it is, he said he's embarrassed that he won against Tennessee.
Wow.
So,
I mean, hey, shit, I agree they should have won by 80. And
yeah.
I'm not even a fucking Bengals fan.
Well, not only that, but like they were just making stupid mistakes. So, I don't know, man. We'll see how it goes into Cleveland. They're going to Cincinnati next week, so Cleveland's going to have the away team, or Cleveland is going to be the away team. And Cincinnati's only a 7-point favorite over Cleveland, which kind of surprising that it's that high. I thought it would be a little closer of a game, to be honest. Not
especially because of the fact that like I wouldn't from what I'm seeing is they're not fully committed to Winston starting this week.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. They've got. I mean, let's see. Who else do they have? They have DTR as their backup, but I don't know who their third.
I thought their third string was I want to say it was Colt McCoy, but I don't think that's right.
No, Colt McCoy hasn't played in years. Bailey Zapp.
That's who it is. It's Zappy. We've been over this.
Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. He actually came from Kansas City's roster. He was he was on their practice squad.
He was the Patriots before that.
Yeah, he quarterbacked with the Patriots. He actually played a couple of games with them. Yeah.
Yep. All right, well, go Cleveland. No, actually, I lied. Never go Cleveland. Go Cincinnati.
That
fucking teams start with a C.
I knew you meant that. That came from the heart. That came from the heart.
No, it didn't. It definitely did not. All right. You ready for some game recaps and scores?
I sure am, man. Let's talk about some New York Jets beating a high school team.
Yeah, they played Cleveland. I didn't see that game. I thought the Jets played Jacksonville, but maybe I fucking tuned into the wrong week, I guess.
A college team.
All right, I'll give you that one. That's a little bit more comparable. Like Zach said, New York Jets beating up on the Jacksonville Jaguars 32-25. We kind of mentioned it earlier with Devonta Adams being the highest scorer of the week. It looks like that connection seems to be kind of, back to what it was when they were in Green Bay, which for fantasy managers is a good sign and a good thing. For other teams, I would say it's kind of not a good thing if you're going against them, just because when Adams is playing and he's on. Like one of the top receivers in the NFL.
Oh, for sure.
And it's just something as a defender, if I was that, I wouldn't want to have to cover him, especially when you still have Garrett Wilson on the other side of the fucking field too, along with Devonta Adams to try to cover. And then, I wrote down here that, the Rodgers-Adams connection, or do the Jags just suck that much? And it's probably a bit of both. But the Giants did score with about a minute left in the game, which, hell, even the announcers and commentating were saying that it's very similar to what they did last week, left too much time on the clock, which cost them the game. But defense was able to go ahead and intercept Mac Jones with, I think it was like 35 seconds left, something along those lines, to seal the game and give the Jets a win, which I'm not the biggest Aaron Rodgers fan. I know Zach's probably the biggest Aaron Rodgers fan.
Oh, huge. Absolutely love the man. Probably more than I love Jameis Winston.
Yeah, well, you got a jersey coming in the mail from Pigskin Prognosis. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel bad for Devonta Adams to a certain degree. I think he was going into New York expecting a higher output from the team as a whole, not just from himself. But coming off a almost 200-yard receiving games, not bad. And I think they went out and kind of had that chip on their shoulder of proving like, hey, the way the team is overall playing is not a reflection of how we are. I know everyone's talking about Rodgers being done potentially at the end of the season, but I don't know. I feel like Aaron Rodgers is one of those type of dudes that he's not going to go out like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he wants to be done. I think a lot of the fans are potentially considering just trying to force his way out. Just because of the lack of performance that they're getting from him. They were expecting this big huzzah when he showed up.
Yeah.
Which ultimately didn't happen because of the injury. So.
Yeah, but even if you watch him, I know the way he runs and shit right now too, definitely it has to do with that Achilles injury. It just looks... He looks like what I would imagine a 41-year-old man who tore his Achilles tendon would run like. Like Brady was what, 43, I think, when he retired?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Granted, Brady was never the most mobile, neither was Aaron Rodgers, but at least Brady, if he needed to, could, tuck the ball and run if he needed to, or scramble around in the pocket. Aaron Rodgers just looks labored and just uncomfortable if he has to try to run in the pocket, so...
Yeah, I don't know. It just, like you said, his connection with Adams is definitely better. I think that's kind of what they were hoping for. This kind of output is what they were hoping for each and every week. Mm-hmm. But you can't solely rely on one target.
No, but I mean, look who they have. They have Brees Hall, who's a great running back. You have and you have Garrett Wilson, and did have one of the best defenses last season, and I'm pretty sure a lot of them still came back for the following, for this year. But yeah, the defense just looks like they've never played football sometimes.
Yeah, right.
Sauce Gardner, one of the best, defensive players in the NFL, just hasn't been able to do it.
Yeah,
hasn't been able to cover people. I mean, I just don't get it. Who was it last year? Their quarterback that took over, Zach Wilson, minus until this week, had a better record up until this point than Aaron Rodgers did with the Jets, and pretty much the same team. So I don't know. I feel like that's a lot to be said. I'm not saying Zach Wilson's better than Aaron Rodgers by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean it does strike some questions to be asked.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, sure, that makes sense, and I don't know how much of it has to do with coaching staff and the changes with the head coach that happened in the middle of the season. I don't know if that was a positive or negative thing for the Jets, but I mean, you're also look at the other side of it too, right? We're claiming that it was one of the best defenses last year. That's no doubt. But now, a lot of that defense did come back. You get a team that's definitely going to be first in the draft in Jacksonville, a team that's struggling offensively and has to call on Mac Jones as their backup, who I wouldn't trust him as a babysitter. And
to make me a sandwich.
Right, and they score 25 points against you.
Yeah.
And had they not gotten an interception, it would have been a lot closer than you would have liked it to be.
Yeah.
Moving into the last, minute and a half of that game. So, you know what I mean? Like, had Adams and Rodgers not gone off like they did, had they played more like what they looked like the last couple of weeks, I think Jacksonville walks out with a win.
Yeah, I completely agree. Because aside from Adams, nobody really did anything. I think Brees Hall had a game as far as fantasy goes. I'd have to look. Hold on.
I think he had a touchdown. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that offense is firing on any point on all cylinders.
He had 30 rushing yards and a touchdown and 2 receptions for 21 yards. So you take out that touchdown. Granted, I know we always say take out the touchdown and stuff, which is an automatic 6 points plus the yardage and shit. But like, that's still a decent. You know what I mean? Like, especially off 30 yards. Like, I would expect, okay, if you have a touchdown on a team like that and you still put up 32 points, I'd expect you to have at least 50, 60 rushing yards or half a dozen receptions,
right,
for 50 plus yards.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's the only other one that really had like an offensive day.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of decisions getting made over there in New York, and I'll be interested in seeing who comes back and who stays with that team.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how this next season goes. I don't know if the regret's going to catch up to Adams. It might even change his entire career path depending on if Rodgers decides to stay in the NFL or not. But
yeah,
that's up for debate on another day after all the paperwork is finalized.
Yeah, which could be interesting how that pans out.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be an interesting offseason. I can't wait.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's gonna be a lot of movement. There was a lot of big movers last year, like Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. But this year, I think is going to be more quarterback heavy on the moving. Plus the draft too. That's the part that always gets me going. Is what
Travis on number 1.
You think?
Dude, I honestly think it also too depends on who ends up actually having the number 1 pick. If it ends up being the Raiders, I think it might be Shadur Sanders just because they need a QB. But if you have a team, I don't even know the current draft order as of right now, but
I think Jacksonville is still number 1 if I'm not mistaken.
And so if it is Jacksonville, then I think Hunter goes. You have a both side of the ball player playing wide receiver and cornerback. You already assigned what you say is your franchise QB to a long-term deal, so you don't, in theory, need a QB.
Oh no, I
So
lied. It would be Jacksonville is not going to be the number 1 draft. It's either going to be the Giants or the Raiders. I think right now it's going to be the Giants.
all right, and they definitely need a QB. So I mean, it'll more than likely be Shadur Sanders. Jesus, can't even talk.
Shadur!
Yeah, but and then you sit there and look at that too. Yeah, I'm glad this is a football podcast. That actually makes sense that we're talking about this. But my question too would be, if that's the case, how much influence is his dad being Deion Sanders going to be? Of like, hey,
Yeah.
he's already said he doesn't want him to play any place that's fucking cold.
Yeah, and so that's what came out just the other day. I think it was yesterday or today. There was an article that came out that said no, he Dion doesn't want his son. He came back and clarified that his son did not say he doesn't want to play in Las Vegas or Cleveland. And I was like, this is going to turn out to be a whole nother Caleb Williams situation where the number 1 draft is looking at the number 1 draft pick, and the number 1 draft pick is like, don't want to go play at the potential number 1 draft spot, right? And then come down to it, you get drafted by that team, and it's like, well, I said it publicly that I don't mind where I go, so now I gotta go play for Chicago.
Yeah, and I gotta eat crow and
right, and that's kind of where he's at now. I mean, had Adams stayed with Vegas, that would have been a cool place for Shadur to go. The Giants are hurting for quarterback right now, and they've got a young rookie and Malik Neighbors, so that could be a cool little duo that we could see them grow. I don't know. I
mean, the good thing about that too is playing. I don't know if you ended up watching any CU Buffs games this season, but their O line isn't great. It's gotten a little bit better from last season, but Sanders still has to go through and try to make plays happen. Extending it, run, and all that happens in with the Giants too. Their O line is just atrocious as far as like protecting the quarterback and that. So like I don't know. I just want to see the dude go in there and everybody having high hopes because of the fact that you're the number 1 draft pick. Very similar to Bryce Young. I'll put him in there too. And our O line is just fucking god awful at that year. And everyone sits there and says, hey, he's fucking trash. He sucks. Why'd you guys wasted a pick? Especially because I think Sanders is better than Bryce Young. I'll put that out there. So I don't know. So I just hate especially with, I think we've talked about this before on the podcast, but like I hate the fact that like people have said it before that Tom Brady and stuff like that have said it. That the NFL has a development problem when it comes to quarterbacks. About hey, we spent a high round draft pick on you. We expect you to play
right
instead of developing quarterbacks. And I think it did it right. I think they kind of did Kirk Cousins wrong by not saying like, hey, we're gonna draft a QB with like the top 10 pick or whatever they had. Like, so I think they did him dirty there, but still being like, hey, you're going to sit behind Kirk Cousins for a little bit, develop and learn. And whenever Kirk, either his contract ends or he retires, you'll be the number 1, you'll be our starter and go-to guy.
Yeah, or you can even say like when he starts playing like crap.
Yeah.
But obviously give like Kirko a little bit of a leash because, I mean, they clearly have. They lost like 6 in a row or whatever the deal was, where they gave up first place and now they're fighting for basically last place in the division. But yeah, I mean, that's something to see. Like, I love the fact that they have confidence in that quarterback of Kirk Cousins because they know what he can do. He is a really good quarterback. But they have that rookie backup there, and to see him, like you said, to see him grow and maybe accumulate some garbage time throughout the year, kind of understanding the level of the NFL. I don't think they do that enough in other teams. I will say I think they did it really well in Cleveland a couple years ago too with Baker Mayfield, because now look at Baker. Now and Baker was a very intelligent quarterback to begin with. He was a very great.
True, but you can also say that too as coaching too.
That's a valid point. Yeah, I'm not going to take anything away from the coaching. I mean, but a lot of it has to come down to the actual player themselves, right? They have
100%, to be, growing and maturing. No, 100%.
Yeah, and that's just, in my opinion, it's all about how much they're willing to learn as opposed to how much they're willing to let their ego kind of take point, and in some cases, there's guys that are like, I want to play. I'm the best that ever was, and I'm going to play right now. And they do show up, but they don't show up enough, or eventually it catches up to them. In the, I'll use Jaden Daniels as an example because he's a really good quarterback, but he's not winning every single game, right? I mean, no quarterback does, but I think a lot of these college guys are expecting, I'm a number 1 draft pick, or Jaden Daniels wasn't a number 1, but you get a lot of right. I mean, close enough, but
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
but you know what I mean. Like some of these, like let's say top 10 draft picks, sure, but they're expecting to come out and be like, I'm the next Tom Brady or whatever the case may be. But no, it's like you need to sit and you need to play. Garbage time. You need to learn, just like Tom Brady did behind who the hell was it?
Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah, Bledsoe. Thank you. And then once your chance comes, you can't let it go away.
Because as soon as Bledsoe got hurt too, that was pretty much the perfect example, of at least in my thought process. I know Brady obviously turned into what he is now, but at the time no one knew that. But hey, it was like, hey, we're gonna take the last pick in the draft, from Michigan, kid named obviously everybody knows his name now, Tom Brady. Literally the Mr. Irrelevant, one of the last picks, if not the last pick in that draft that year, and. Let you ride the bench a little bit. Learn behind Bledsoe. He's our franchise QB. He goes down, with a big injury. And then, hey, get the hell in there. See what you can do. Obviously it was a little rough start too, but I kind of like, we've pretty much been saying the same thing of like, it can't hurt you to come in and be benched. Everyone sits there and sees, being benched as a bad thing. I mean, Look at, granted, Richardson, after last week, and he pretty much when he came back from being benched, he looked a little bit better. Looked like he was making slightly smarter throws, but still, that was just the fact that I think the dude only played like 13 or 14 college games. He didn't really play many when you compare it to everybody else that's a quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah,
and then the Bryce Young situation. They bench him for 4 weeks. Hey, Andy Dalton, who they had as the starter, gets hurt. Hey, time to get back in there. And with the exception of this last week against Dallas, looked head and shoulders above what he was at before.
Yeah. And you get that a lot where, the player will come in, the draft pick, top 10 draft pick will come in, and there is obvious room for improvement already, which is why you got drafted, right? They're picking somebody that they need to fill a gap, but it doesn't necessarily mean, hey, you're going to get ready to play right now because we need you right now. Mm-hmm. Jacksonville is a good example, right? Yes, they're hurting for quarterbacks right now, but that's because their starting quarterback is hurt. I don't expect them to draft a quarterback, but if they did, I wouldn't expect that quarterback to play because they still have, Trevor Lawrence to lead them for another. I think he's got one more year left on his contract.
No, they just signed him last year. I thought to like a 4 or 5 year deal.
Okay, I didn't catch the extension, but I mean that my point being that just because they draft you doesn't mean you should expect to play right away.
Well, 100% too.
And especially in the case of quarterbacks, because those are the guys that you want to last a long time. You want to put your franchise tag on a quarterback.
Yeah, you want that guy to be the face of your franchise. Speaking in terms of Madden the game at least. The guy that that leads the locker room and has that team leadership and not veteran presence, but obviously later on in his career you'd expect that. But right off the bat, no one's expecting a rookie for the most part to go in and completely turn the franchise around. Because there's, like you said, there's a reason why you had the number a top 10 pick, because you were the bottom teams in the NFL the whole season. At the end of the year. So I just think it's unfair that owners and GMs and head coaches and stuff go through and look at these guys and expect them to basically turn their season around and their franchise around after hey, you were ass all season. You finished dead last. You got the number 1 pick. All right, cool, man. Time to get your ass out there and do something. And turn us around. Turn us into a Super Bowl winning team year 1, even though you've never played against an NFL defense before, which, as everyone knows, is a fucking lot different than college. But I just don't want to see, Shedeur gets, shafted and gets basically screwed and everyone sit there and write the dude off like a lot of people, and me being one of them, did with Bryce Young. But hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and it might take a year or two to develop, but just because they're not Just because they're not, producing in their rookie year doesn't mean that they're not going to produce ever.
Yeah.
So
But
who knows?
that was a good little rant. I like that.
That was good. Yeah, that was like a 15-minute rant about draft picks.
That was good. That was good. See, this is why everyone tunes in. Listen, and just to hear us fucking instead of rambling on about four games and fucking ending the podcast, and then we have written at the bottom then any random shit we want to talk about. That was a good random shit. If we don't get to all the other games and recap shit, that's fine. That's not super relevant. Everybody watched the fucking Broncos whoop up on the Colts and how much the fucking Colts suck. So like we don't really need to.
Dude,
I say that, but they're still in playoff contention. So
that touchdown that got called back pissed me off. I hate seeing stuff like that, dude. When you drop the ball.
My buddy Nick texted me or Snapchatted me about it. He's the guy leading our league right now. I guess he has him in one of them. And was like, dude, Jonathan Taylor just screwed me out of 40 rushing yards and a touchdown.
That's insane.
That's some college shit. Like, who does that?
I mean, that's like something you'd see from like a rookie.
And it's mostly college shit.
Well, true, and it's funny because I was just watching like a YouTube compilation of NFL players who've done that, and I was like, man, NFL players that do this are stupid. And I have Jonathan Taylor in one of my leagues, and then it happened, and then I was like, you know what? I'm never picking him again. I am not gonna do that.
And says that until he's available next year in the draft, and he's like, you know what?
I'll draft him first round.
Son of a bitch, I'm in. Son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yep, that Rick and Morty. Son of a bitch, I'm in. 100%.
Yeah, hell too. If you look at that too, that just shifted the whole momentum of the rest of that game.
It did.
Colts went on to not score the rest of the game.
Yeah, they completely. Dude, what is it with mental mistakes like this whole year? Because somebody did that in the Cincinnati game. It was a pick six that they dropped for a touchback.
Dude, that was early in the season, wasn't it?
No, that was this week.
Was it this week?
Yeah, that was this week.
I missed it then.
Yeah, they dropped it. They had a pick six and they dropped it and kicked it in the back, and then they like ran all the way to like the stands to pick the ball back up, and it's like, bro, the ball is out. It's out of the field. It's gone, dude. It's over. About
that. Yeah, I saw the ESPN popped it up and was like, what the hell are you doing? Type like caption.
I just Yeah, so this year is a weird year, man. Stupid.
Yeah,
stupid.
Gonna see that. Like, coach is gonna look at it and be like, "What the fuck are you doing, dude?"
Yeah, I don't remember who.
Speaking of stupid mistakes, I'm gonna go ahead and address this. Not that my fucking opinion matters much here with the whopping 4 or 5 people we actually have listened to this, let alone the whole almost fucking hour that we're into this already. Did you see any of the 49ers game on Thursday?
No.
I watched
somebody not play.
Yeah, so I picked it up while we're running our iRacing league, and it's Devondre Campbell, the linebacker, decided to, and I quote, "I don't feel like playing this game."
Okay.
Two of their linebackers got hurt. The one is, damn, I don't remember his name, but anyway, so basically the two that suited up were starters, and that dude got picked up to be a backup, and he knew that. The starter got hurt. He was the one that got injured in the Super Bowl. Again, drawing a blank on the name. Don't know why.
Fred Warner?
No, I was.
Yeah, Greenlaw. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was like, I feel like the name's on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, so Greenlaw got hurt with like knee soreness or something. So they're like, hey, Shanahan's like, hey, like you're going, you're going into play basically because the other one got hurt too, and just like a couple plays before that. And he was like, yeah, I don't feel like playing. And so they're like, what the fuck? Okay. And then he just walks off and goes back to the locker room. A bunch of the players, I guess, came out and were like, hey, this is bullshit. Can't believe the dude quit on the team. George Kittle was pissed. He's like, he was like, I've never been on a team with anybody that's like that, and I hope to never do it again. There was rumors that they were going to end up cutting him, but it just came out today that they're suspending him for their last 3 games so that he can't get picked up by another team. They're suspending him without pay. Which, I mean, kudos to San Fran, in my opinion, of like, hey, we're going to suspend you so that you can't get picked up by a different team and get a paycheck for the last 3 weeks of the year when you fucked up and you quit on a team.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that.
Like you're making millions of dollars to play a fucking game. Shit that people would dream to play. at the professional level,
Yeah.
let alone get paid to do it. And you were
Right.
just like, yeah, I don't really feel like it. Like, dude, come the fuck on, man. You not only let yourself down, you let your whole team down. I know San Fran, especially because I mean, they're not eliminated from playoffs now, but now it's just they need a lot of help to get back in and be in contention for that final wild card spot. But I mean, I don't know, man. It just blows my mind that especially the fact that it was just like, yeah, I don't really feel like playing.
Yeah.
Like,
Isn't it? This is some major drama surrounding San Francisco for the second time this year. Remember that other issue they had with Debo? Was it Debo Samuel in the kicker, or the long? It was the long snapper.
long snapper.
Yeah. And
Well, Debo just came out last week too. It might have been the end of last week. This was shortly after that because I know we talked about that on a couple podcasts ago.
yeah.
And Debo was like, it's not that I'm having a hard time. He's like, I'm just not getting the ball enough. And then, granted, I understand that it was down in San Fran on Thursday. I know the weather sucked. But like, dude, that man got hit directly in the numbers twice, and just dropped it, dude.
I saw that. I was like, it was a meme that was like Debo screaming at his coaches like, I don't get the ball enough, and then the next game it was like a dude with those glasses on and a cane, like he's walking around blind.
Basically. You're just like, dude, what the? You can't sit there and be like, I don't get the ball enough. I don't get the ball enough, and then you get the ball and you drop it. Let me pull up his fucking stats. Hold on. like I said, I know it was raining. I'm not downplaying that whatsoever. But you're a professional fucking athlete. Puka Nacua was able to catch that ball for almost. I think he had 102 yards in that game. So that whole it's raining, he didn't really do no, that bullshit.
Yeah.
3 receptions off of 7 targets. You missed over half the fucking balls that were thrown at you.
Yeah, that's not you.
You just got done bitching.
Right.
That you don't get the fucking ball enough.
You gotta man up, and you gotta put your money where your mouth is, man.
Like, Jesus. Like I said, I get it was raining, get it was downpouring. I understand that, that's usually a running back related ball. But it's hard to sit there and say that when you had another receiver on the other side that caught for over 100 yards. Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the Browns and the Panthers, and then we'll carry off since we.
Yeah. I don't
talk about him either.
Okay. Oh my god, dude. It's such a touchy subject, man. The Browns. Thank God they're eliminated from playoffs, because I'd be stroking the fuck out right now if they were still in contention.
I don't want to see that bullshit.
I don't either, dude. But they lost 21-7 against KC. I told you all it was going to happen, so it's not a surprise that we lost. It's just the fact that we lost in such a defeating fashion. Jameis Winston, he gave us the short end of the stick, which I've talked about multiple times on this podcast. You either get him or you don't, and when you don't, it's bad, and it was bad. 3 interceptions in the game is just whatever.
Getting benched.
I'm ready for Bailey Zapp. Bring it on. Let's bring it in and see what we got. You know what? I'd honestly pick up Daniel Jones at this point too.
Oh God.
We're desperate, man. We're desperate.
Brother,
yeah.
No.
Well, apparently the front office and the head coach and Deshaun Watson are all planning on making a big comeback next year, so we'll see. I'm not looking forward to it. I don't want to see Deshaun Watson come back to Cleveland and play another snap for Cleveland, but
well, he probably is, especially when you drop $255 million in a guaranteed contract on somebody.
It's the unfortunate part, but I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so the Browns, not for me. They're eliminated. I'm done with them.
Thank God.
But plus, it was Kansas City too, so.
I mean, at least you're losing to the number 1 team in the division at least, or the conference, but
yeah,
still, just sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that'll be a good segue to go into the Carolina game. Winning as favorites, dude. Bryce Young fumbled the ball 3 times, lost the ball twice, got 2 interceptions. He was doing so well the last 3 weeks, especially when we played, the Eagles, Tampa, and KC held them all to 1-score games. Went to overtime with Tampa. It's just a fucking kick in the nuts, especially when you're sitting there and like looking at it. You're like, okay, cool. Like, we're making progress.
Yeah.
We're moving. We're looking better. And then you go out and you let Rico Dowdle run for almost 150 yards on you. And for some reason, we didn't put J.C. Horn, our best defender, on C.D. Lamb, so he was just able to just fucking destroy us pretty much at every turn of the corner. So I don't know. It gets a little frustrating. You sit there and watch it, and you expect more. I mean, granted, maybe that was my fault for going into with it with too much optimism. Maybe that was my fault. Probably is my fault. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, same. But we got eliminated from playoff contentions too with that loss. So
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah. Granted, the chance of us making it were like a 1% chance. We needed so much fucking help. It wasn't even funny.
Well,
But
that's okay. There's always next year.
And the year after, and the year after.
Yeah, that's kind of how it's been with.
I'm 65,
Cleveland.
and we may or may not see a playoff game, but who knows? Who knows?
Hey, the one time that Carolina Panthers are in the Super Bowl, we'll get tickets. How does that sound?
I might have to.
It's gonna be the only time you're ever gonna see them, even remotely close. Hey, you know what? Actually, next time they make the playoffs, we'll get tickets just to a playoff game.
Yeah, I might have. I think they're on like the third longest playoff drought in the NFL right now.
Really?
Jets, Broncos, us, and I don't remember who the fucking. There was like
the Broncos
teams.
Are really.
Yeah, Broncos are gonna end up more than if they win on Thursday. They'll snap that streak.
Well, I was gonna say that they haven't been to the playoffs since Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl, right?
Because that's been 10 years. No, they've been one time I think since.
When was that? That was 2016, right?
He went to the Super Bowl in 2015 because that was the year Carolina had that 15-1 season.
Okay, yeah.
And then he retired after that Super Bowl, so it was probably I want to say it's been 7 years since the last. Because like them, Carolina, and one other team are all at like 7 years. Because the Jets are in like year 14.
Okay.
So yeah, I want to. Yeah, dude. But we're not at 14 years, so I guess we got that.
Well, all right. I guess that makes more sense because I'm thinking like, I didn't think they've been to the Super. I was thinking Super Bowl. You're saying playoffs. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
I'm just an idiot.
Denver. I almost looked up Denver Browns. I just mixed two fucking teams together. Last playoff. I'm going. Hold on.
The Seattle Dolphins.
It was 2015.
Yeah. Dang. Okay.
There's no way. No way it's been that long.
Man, I don't know.
Last time Broncos made. Yeah, I'm just looking for playoffs. I'm not looking for a Super Bowl win here.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was the last time they made it. Because I don't think they've been back since Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl.
Jesus, all right, I guess it was. Shit. So maybe it's Carolina. Maybe it's Jets, Denver, Carolina. Because we went like 2017, 2018, I think. That would make more sense then.
And the Browns were out the last 2 years, so. No, they made it last year with Joe Flacco. I lied. They were
because it was like a big deal, yeah.
They were a first-round exit, though, when they played Texans. But, yeah.
Hey, still made it.
That's true.
I don't know if I'd rather like go and then get like immediately eliminated or just not go and.
I would rather not go, to be completely honest. I would rather sit. I like our position now where we are completely removed. Like, no shot.
Sure.
I think what really bugs me is like when you're on the verge of it and you have to like win your way in the last like week or 2 weeks and then you get eliminated in the first week. Yeah. Like all that stress the last like 5-6 weeks of the regular season just to get kicked out in the last, in the first week. No bueno.
Yeah, you go through and then especially if you have to win like, 3-4 games in a row and go on a bit of a run and then to get bounced week 1, you're like, well, I would have taken at least an exit in the second round, make me feel a little bit better, but
yeah, right.
But yeah, man, I think this was a good episode. I think I know it turned into more of us bullshitting, which I feel like is a little more natural for fantasy podcasts and football podcasts in general. So
yeah, we can just talk about the stuff that we like, the stuff that we know, instead of us just reading statistics off of a sheet, which y'all can just look up yourself. Y'all can tune in for our opinions and such.
Yeah. As much as, like we said earlier, that doesn't really mean much, but hey.
But, I mean, still something. It's better than nothing.
Sure.
They can
Might get some good
sit
insight.
here and listen to your meltdown about Taylor Swift, which you didn't bring up this week.
I said I was going to bring up KC one time, and I did it earlier. And
I know, but you didn't
so
talk about your favorite player on their team.
I know. My wife gave me shit last week for talking about it. She's like, for somebody that hates Taylor Swift in Kansas City, you talked about her a lot last week. So I was like, all right, it's never going to happen again. If you fucking are doing it again. So, no.
Just poking the bear. Just poking the bear.
Fucking dick.
It's so funny. Oh, man. All right. Well, in conclusion, thank you all for coming to hang out with us. It has been yet another fun episode with Sully. This is Pigskin Prognosis Week 16. Please feel free to come hang out every week during the regular season. We'll also do some postseason episodes talking about the regular season, or excuse me, the NFL's postseason as that progresses. As for fantasy, you've got 2 more weeks. You got 16, 17, and 18, so 3 weeks, I guess, until your playoffs are complete. So make sure you're staying on top of your lineups. Make sure you get those wins. And good luck to everybody out there that's in playoff contention and fighting for a championship in their fantasy league this year.
Yep. Good luck, everybody. Hopefully, season's better to you than it was to me. So,
yeah.
as always, Zach, it's been fun. I'll hit you up next week, and we'll do this again next week.
Sounds good, Sully. Thank you all for our listeners. We appreciate y'all, and we will talk to y'all next week. Have a great week.
Bye.